This video is brought to you by BOC-HK. Focus on your education, be keen on your investments, and invest in your future. BOC-HK. Be avid, buy smart.
Hi YouTube. So I am selling my physical gold. Here is a invoice from today of me selling the gold. It does says customer bullion invoice. In Chinese, that actually says customer selling precious metal invoice. So bad translation on the vendor part. Actually, in this case, it's actually Bank of China, Hong Kong. So as I was mentioned earlier, that in my other video, that the best way to buy and sell your precious metal is one of my method with the lowest losses is to be selling to a Bank of China, Hong Kong. But I don't necessarily buy from them because they're not available to buy. So I'll talk more about that later in this video about me checking up with them again on the update in terms of being able to buy from them. So again, as usual, there's no problem for me in terms of no trouble at all being able to sell the physical to them. I want to mention a little bit more detail, but first of all, let's take a look at the detail of this invoice, and I'll talk about some of the experience. So today's date, January the 19th, 2017. Here says, I'm selling my 1 ounce maple sealed. The ones I actually sold to them today was actually 2016 ones. I sold a total of 10 of them at 9,529, which is a little bit above spot. I'll make references to the spot right now, which is a little bit more than around or maybe just at $1,200 US dollar. You can divide this number by the peg Hong Kong US dollar of 7.75, and you will find that this rate here in Hong Kong dollars, a dollar is actually a little bit higher than the spot rate. Spot gold price, which is really good. As I mentioned in my other video, the best way to buy and sell with a lower spread is through buy from one of the major dealer. By selling it back out to one of the vendor or banks in Hong Kong. So, but I do want to mention in this video in terms of why I'm selling my precious metal. So in terms of yes, 2017, and why am I selling my precious metal just before Chinese New Year? So there's actually two reasons. One of them is I made a bad decision in terms of putting too much of my excess cash flow into precious metal. So I actually bought these 10 coins just in November last year when the price of physical gold was at 1,300. So now that's 1,200. I actually lost about $100 per ounce. So that's a bad decision. So, and it's my part of not keeping too much cash in the system, or not keeping too much cash in my system, or in my storage, and trying to keep a lot of my spare cash just in physical. So as you saw in my other video, I'm really only expecting a loss even at the same price, about 3% in terms of where I buy and where I sell. So it's actually not too bad, because usually if you were to put to storage, that's going to cost you about 2-3%. And also the other point is that 2-3% per year. And also another point is that there is no interest on US dollar or Hong Kong dollar, right? Literally nil. So it's just as good or just as bad putting into physical gold. So in terms of cash flow, again, because I kept too much, and it is tax season right now in Hong Kong, and also I recently did some renovation. So I needed to buy things and pay for my credit card. So it's a bad cash flow management on my part that I needed to be raising some cash. So it's unfortunate that I have to sell these precious metal under the prices that I bought for. So so in terms of the details of the selling transaction, I took got to take some photos of when I was at the Bank of China at the counter when the lady kind of walked away. There was a really cute pretty girl that's clerk that served me today. So so I was kind of happy just chatting with her a little bit on this. So she was kind of the process was kind of, I handed her all 10 of them was essentially on a single sheet of the seal maple. She took it, she examined it quite carefully, look at the year, and then after she did, she kind of called her supervisor. Her supervisor walked back down, look at the sleeves again, and then actually she was actually looking at each sleeve to make sure there is no rip to the sleeve. So pretty much I asked her, I said, okay, so if there's a rip, what do you do? So as I mentioned in my other video, essentially they will consider it as a bullion, or scrap, well, not scrap gold, but yeah, scrap gold. They will consider it as bullion, which as I show in my other video, they kind of take that in at a slightly or much lower price, which I think we calculated for about like $30 lower per ounce. Have to link on the bottom of the video to kind of go back to that other video where I talked about selling to the bank and the details of that. So lastly, I want to talk about, so I guess, sorry, before I move on to the next point, I want to talk about, so make sure when you get it in sleeve, keep it in relatively good condition, so that, because a lot of time, the precious metal are fairly heavy. If you just stack them up, it's quite easily that, you might rip the plastic, although they're relatively durable. Last point here is me checking what's done in terms of, do you sell it back? So the first lady kind of told me, oh, we don't have 2000, and the current year haven't came in yet. So I said, okay, do you have last year's, 2016? Because it's 2017 now. And then she said, oh, I need to check. It's actually the first time I heard them to say, hey, I need to check. So it's kind of interesting. Then when the supervisor came, I asked her the same question, do you guys sell? And then she kind of said, no, we don't currently sell. So I mean, I was literally going to ask them to say, okay, I just sold to you, so you must have inventory now. Can you sell it back to me? So I think the current answer is no. They are still not selling the gold coins back out. So yes, does that raise some suspicions in terms of are the Chinese or are the banks taking in gold? I think that's another proof to say I think they are. But anyways, this is just my observations. So lastly, I want to talk very quickly about storage. In terms of, did I actually carry all my gold? Do I keep it at home? No, I don't. So actually, one of the method is I actually store at the vault at Bank of China, and I kind of go to the bank, go down to the basement, kind of take out the gold and bring it back out to the counter without leaving the bank and sell it back to them. And I think that's kind of the safest way, because you kind of don't even leave the bank, so you can't kind of get robbed, although Hong Kong is a very safe place. But I do have another video which I talk about, the storage option, what I think about it. I have done storage with some bullion dealer before. Have done storage at home, or try to hide some at home at some point. I don't have that anymore. I don't do that anymore. And then obviously at the bank. So I have tried various different type of storage. I'll make another video later on about storage option and what I think of them and what do I recommend. Obviously, don't put all your eggs in one basket, which is another strategy. Okay, thanks YouTube. So I'll talk to you guys later. Hope this video helped. If you like this, please click like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.